How's it going, guys? This is Hunting with the Wolves podcast number 5. I'm Deranged. I'm your host, and I also got Heavy Rainfall here. Would you like to introduce yourself? Tell the viewers what you do for the company.
Yeah, what's up, guys? My name is Jonathan Robbins. I also go by Heavy Rainfall. For the most part, I'm just helping with development of the community. I work pretty close with the community managers to help activate our community night, our movie nights, a couple other features that I can't talk about just yet that are coming around the pipeline. Other than that, I mean, just generally hang out and play games with you guys.
Right. But today we got a few topics regarding streaming, and we've also got some topics related to some of the top titles in the industry as far as esports and gaming goes in general. We're going to kind of open up the stream with how our Rainbow Six team has been doing recently since our last podcast. We played in the Upsurge League Premier, and we won against Premier Esports 7-2 game 1 and 7-1 on our second game. They blew it out of the water on Sunday. Honestly, I mean, I couldn't ask that team to do a better thing on Sunday against that team. Today we played against roughly some of the hardest competition that we're going to play in for SCS. They actually just finished the game not about 5-10 minutes ago. They first map took it out 7-4, and second map they tied 6-6. So they got some things to work on. Ultimately, that's just how it goes. It was some really good competition, so we obviously know that there's some things that we have to work on as far as strats go. We recently picked up a new player, Tyrant. You've seen him play already at this point. He's got some work with the team. Not a whole lot of strats, and he needs to work on a few things as far as team chem, but as long as we get the practice in, it'll come eventually. I'm really excited to see where this team goes in the future. As we always say, we definitely are expecting some big things out of them. What do you think? You got to watch a little bit of the last round there, or last map.
Yeah, and plus it's not the first time I watched you guys' Rainbow Six team play. Every match is just exciting with those guys. Like, you guys constantly kick ass. Or,
right.
Am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah, it's fine.
Like, they knock it out of the water every single time. I feel like they probably just had a chummy game with the last one, getting a little too cocky. I feel like that might be part of the Wolves' attitude, is what we want, but they'll kick ass next time.
Right. And we want to start the podcast off with talking about a really, really hot topic right now with streaming. Dr. Disrespect has finally made a comeback. It was a very, very big event within our community and kind of our staff. The kind of ring of staff that we have, our CEO is a huge fan of Dr. Disrespect. He's always been a viewer of his streams and his content. And when we kind of got wind of him making a comeback and starting to stream on YouTube, it was kind of a big deal. We for about 2 or 3 hours during his pre-stream stream that went on for 24 hours, we were actually sitting in there just vibing to the music. I mean, he just his whole stream environment is just so casual to be around. Like, even without him being there, it's still something that's just really relaxing. I mean, I was able to sit there and listen to the music for hours just doing work for the Wolves, and it was pretty relaxing to be able to hear his music go in the background and just hear the different
his channel without him really kind of turns into that lo-fi beats to chill to, study to, whatever your choice of poison is there.
Right.
Plus, like, the artwork they have on it is just amazing. Every new scene he transitions into, that, like, first time, is just something to behold.
Right.
That whole gas station scene is just, I don't know if he does the artwork or what the deal is on that. I've never looked into it, but it's always solid.
I mean, I'm sure he's got a huge production team behind him. I mean, ultimately, anybody that is anyone in the streaming industry has some sort of a production team behind them, and they have some extreme production value. Just a little bit of kind of background on Dr. Disrespect, if you're not already aware. But for our viewers, he actually started his career as far as content creation on YouTube back in 2010, about mid-2010. And he, for about a year and a half, created content on YouTube, and then he stopped. And the reason why he stopped was because he joined Sledgehammer Games as a community director, and he was promoted to basically a map designer of sorts. And he actually helped design a lot of the games in Advanced Warfare. That's, I mean, from a gamer's perspective, like that's like dream come true type stuff to make a map or even to have any sort of influence and that sort of
just to be able to change something in your favorite game is something that every gamer dreams of.
And Advanced Warfare wasn't a hit like some of the games before it, but
that was the one where they tried a lot of new things.
Yes.
Which did kind of bite them in the back, but they were really interesting takes. Like I'll never forget that skyscraper level where it just all of a sudden it just like drops from below you.
Right. I mean there was a lot of back and forth about it. I mean, the casual playing community wasn't the biggest fans because I mean Jetpack Call of Duty nobody was really the community in general has always been more of a boots on the ground type community. Yep. The amateur community really enjoyed the game. Especially for competitive play, at least from what I've picked up from the multiple different teams and players that we've dealt with over the past year. They really seem to like Advanced Warfare for its competitive play. I'm not sure why. I can't stand the game. I mean, I'm one of those I don't like the Jetpack Warriors, so I'm good with that.
I wouldn't know. I haven't played Call of Duty much until this new one since Modern Warfare 2.
Right. Another thing we want to talk about regarding to Dr. Disrespect, obviously a lot of people are familiar with the fact that he was banned from Twitch. There's little to no reasoning from our understanding when we were actually viewing Dr. Disrespect's first stream on YouTube when he was actually on stream. He said that there was not really any information from Twitch regarding the ban, that they actually told him. Back on June 26th, that was whenever he's banned, and from that time until now, supposedly, whether it be he knows and he just can't tell the public, or he genuinely just doesn't know, we don't know why he was banned. Personally, based off the information that we do know from what he's told us, I personally think that he genuinely doesn't know. And the biggest concern is he had a contract with Twitch that was worth a lot of money, and his legal team is currently working against Twitch to try and fight for those resources.
I mean, that's what they should do.
Right.
I'm personally on the other side of that fence. I actually believe that he knows, but he doesn't want to talk about it.
Right.
The only reason I say that is because if you look at the statements that YouTube and Facebook have said, that they have no plans to give him any kind of partnership ever.
Right.
So a lot of times companies like that, even though they're competitors, they usually talk a lot to each other. My guess is YouTube and Facebook Gaming found out why he got banned on Twitch. They were told not to let it go publicly, but they realized that's something you can't mess with. So
right. I mean, my argument for that is essentially it's very, very difficult to send information in this day and age and somebody that's not supposed to know find out about it. I mean, because ultimately if it was something that was truly detrimental to his career, I mean, we've seen him in the past come out against allegations that he's had and squash them or apologize for them, whatever they were. But not only that, I mean, we live in the day and age of social media. I mean, everything that is anything information-wise gets out one way or another, and it's usually as soon as anything really comes out, there's always some sort of leak or information that does get out.
While I agree with that, in this situation I might disagree, only because if you use Twitch as your example and like just the pinnacle of it, you can count on more fingers than you have of how many streamers have been like banned or had the temporary ban that have never been given an explanation, or ever will get an explanation. So to me, it's like I think Twitch probably knows the same reason why they wouldn't ban those, and then Dr. Disrespect.
Twitch of course knows. I mean, they of course know why they banned him, of course.
But
my thing
those
is
those small streamers, their information on why they got banned has never been leaked.
right.
So whatever the source is from like Twitch that would normally leak that stuff, it's just not there.
The
That's
difference
not
the difference here is that I mean, Dr. Disrespect is arguably top 5 in the streaming community as far as viewership and numbers goes. I mean, he's got a community of millions that watches content. He might not have those viewers in his stream at all times, but it's kind of naive to say that he doesn't have somebody in his viewership that has the technical skill or computer skill to maybe get into somewhere they're not supposed to get into and find the information themselves, or even for people that are just hearing things from conversations going on that they're not supposed to hear. I mean, there's definitely the opportunity for information that big to get out to the public, and I'm sure a lot of people that are actually make a living off of reporting that sort of news would probably pay good money to find out information for that. Because I mean, if you're the first person to find out why Dr. Disrespect get banned on Twitch,
you're gonna be famous.
like you're gonna be huge.
You're gonna be famous.
I mean, it's gonna be a big deal, and a lot of outlets that report that sort of information really want to know. I mean, they really want to know. And the other thing too, if Dr. Disrespect truly knew anything regarding the subject, now obviously, if there's some sort of court order that states that he cannot talk to the public about it, then that's different. If there is not, he's going to continuously, until he tells something, get people just coming into the chat, and that's all they want to know is what happened. And that's going to be the buzz around him for the indefinite future until something comes out.
Well, I mean, that's the day and age that we live in. Chances are it's going to be like a 4-month thing, right?
Right.
Because I mean, we don't talk about like we always mention the things he's done prior, but we also like hardly mention other situations, like, you know, the shenanigans that XQC has got himself into, the things that like I'm gonna say Pokimane has mentioned on stream.
Right.
Like, none of it is super extreme, and I don't think this is super extreme either. I think it's gonna be just like every other thing that happens on Twitch. It's gonna be a fad that passes by. I would even use the Ferociously Steph situation that's been going on. Even though all of it's settled on the background, we still talked about it for so long, and now we don't talk about it at all.
Right. I mean, ultimately, the buzz around this situation, eventually it'll stop getting talked about. But I think that this situation is a little bit different in the aspect that the streamer in question has made such a resurgence.
Yeah.
I mean, he quite literally broke like he made history
By not even being on screen.
by not even being on screen. Right. I mean, he probably made close to $100,000 just in his 24-hour pre-stream that had nothing on it content-wise other than audio and a single animated image on screen.
Somebody tweeted out, and I've been thinking about it ever since. The fact that like we're looking at Doc and we're trying to figure out the reason why, but we're not asking ourselves like kind of the secondary question, which is like, how does this actually like affect the viewers? Because to some viewers, they probably saw this as punishment, right?
Right.
And I feel like the problem is if they told us, and it is like as big of a thing as it's being assumed, how is that going to impact that entire status of streaming?
Right.
If it's so bad that he needs like a legal counsel for, now given if it's a legal counsel based on the contract, him getting kicked out,
Right.
that's fine. But if it's something like super legal, that's going to put a stain on this, and it's going to put streaming back a couple of years.
Exactly.
Just like esports did when it was doing the World Circuit stuff.
Exactly.
Like the question just comes down to, it's like, is it worth us even knowing?
The difference between the esports example you gave and the streaming example, of course, that we have in front of us is the demographic that a lot of streamers reach to is a younger audience, and watching streamers, supporting streamers is kind of the new norm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, esports is only just now starting to become somewhat of a norm, and it's only just now starting to really catch on in all these different cities, all these different states.
I think
To
that
the point
depends on
of-
where you look.
Yeah, and that's very true. I mean, there's certainly a demographic specific to esports, of course.
Well, I wouldn't even say just the specific demographic. Even like like worldwide. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but back when Dr. Disrespect was on Twitch, there was a very long extended period of time where he actually had 3 separate streams with other languages going for that other audience base.
Right.
And I would say if you pointed at like Asia, esports blew up faster than streaming did.
Of course.
And it's trying to catch up while America's in the reverse. But
streaming is the big thing here.
Yeah. Like we love it. We want our content.
Oh yeah, of course. It's just it's simple as entertainment. I mean,
yeah.
The generation before us,
those are our movie stars.
Right. The generation before us was extremely movie star based. They wanted to watch your John Waynes and your Clint Eastwoods. We want to watch Dr. Disrespect. We want to watch Shroud. We want to watch everybody else that's making movements in the gaming community, because that's what they do, is they content create on a live streaming thing. It's a very natural and organic industry.
Yep.
Because nothing is scripted. I mean, of course, they might plan out their stream a little bit to an extent,
even when
but
it's
everything
scripted,
is brand new, and it's
like, even when it's scripted, it never feels scripted.
Right. They script it in such a way that it doesn't look like a movie.
It's
they don't have to act even, really.
My girlfriend gave me this parallel, and I hate her for it, but it made perfect sense. It's just like, it's the same way you would treat Jersey Shore, because none of that is itself scripted, but you got the perfect people in a room to do a TV show,
right? And
they turned it into that. It's the same thing with a content creator,
right?
You found the perfect person to be that character,
right? Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what streaming is. That's probably
yeah,
that's probably the best example you could give.
And I hate it,
and that I'm never gonna forget that, and I really wish I would.
Enjoy the curse I've had for a couple weeks.
So let's move on from Dr. Disrespect. We might talk about him a little bit more here in the future, but let's talk about LCS. LCS just announced, I believe, either yesterday or the day before, that they have signed a deal with Buffalo Wild Wings, and they are potentially going to be streaming different LCS playoff games and league games revolving around scouting grounds and stuff like that.
Now, if I remember correctly, they haven't given out any kind of planning for that, right?
They really haven't.
They put the teaser.
But the biggest thing that we have to look at it as is, this is one of the biggest esports. This is one of the biggest sit down and eat, go watch a game places to go. Buffalo Wild Wings. I mean, a lot of people really enjoy to eat at the place in question, and a lot of people go there just to simply watch sports. This could be a monumental step for esports in the realm of, it gets people's eyes on the craft, and it opens their eyes to what esports can truly be as a viewer.
Well, so not a lot of people know this, but Riot is also known for being one of the few companies in the world that whenever they do a partnership, their stamp of approval is it has to be creative, right?
Right.
It can't be the first thing somebody would think of. So our first thought's always going to be, hey, it's streamed on the TVs of Buffalo Wild Wings. That's probably what they're going to do, and that's probably their main pull from it. But chances are they're going to do some crazy activation that we're not even thinking of. Because this is the same company that brought in State Farm and got millions of people questioning insurance because they were playing games.
Exactly. And to kind of further on that, there was a little bit of information that was kind of released on what the kind of plan is. They did talk about briefly in their statement that they want to do like limited time items on the menu or something, stuff like that, like food items that actually have nothing to do with esports. But I mean, that's about as creative as you can be. I mean,
from Optic, I love it. Or Huntsman now. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But I mean, it's definitely an opportunity. I mean, it's definitely something that gets esports into a bigger spotlight that it didn't already have.
All I'm saying is, if they don't do during like the world's final, whatever they're doing this year with the Buffalo Wings, if they don't have the dragon come down and eat a chicken, I'm done. I'm uninstalling League. I'm deleting my account. I'm selling it. Like, you have this potential to create something beautiful, like you do every year.
Right.
Add a little fun to it.
Right.
That intro is, give me a chicken. Just eat it, pull it up. I don't care.
I'm really excited to see what direction they take it with. I mean, it could really, really be a monumental step in the right direction to try and pull in an audience that has since been very neglecting of esports. I mean, as esports connoisseurs, so to speak, like that's our job, is to know esports and everything like that. I mean, the biggest concern with us is this demographic going to accept us? And I mean, a lot of the older generation looks at esports and says, what, they're playing video games. Why is that important? Like that's what a lot of people see esports as, is just video games. It's not always about that.
It's funny you bring it up like that, thinking about the older generation, because I don't know Buffalo Wild Wings enough, but like you thinking about it like in a business sense, chances are they're pulling money from somewhere to put it there. I'm willing to bet whatever the sport they were sponsoring prior is, they're pulling from that. So the older generation have to see esports now.
Right.
Because I think they were sponsoring both soccer and baseball, like certain leagues for it. Right. I could be wrong. Don't quote me. Not a source. But if they pull that from traditional sports and take it to esports, the general America business, they're going to start looking at it and trying to find ways in.
Well, the difference there is, I mean, not every American, of course, is a businessman.
True.
I mean, the people that are making the decisions for Buffalo Wild Wings and for the NFL or the NBA or anything like that, they're businessmen. They see dollars.
Well, I just meant your average consumer, because you're going to get some guy that's probably, just throwing a number out there, 68, right? He's used to going to Buffalo Wild Wings, seeing his baseball game. He knows and loves it. Anytime he watches at home, he sees that Buffalo Wild Wings logo. Right. Well, next time he's going to go in there, because of how they changed their model, he's going to see esports. He's not going to know what that is. He's going to be forced into it. And I use force loosely, because it's not like they're not shoving it down his throat.
Right.
For all you know, like he could be curious. He'll go home. He'll start streaming. He'll become that.
Right.
I can remember the grandpa that streams and the grandma that plays Skyrim. I love her.
I've seen that before. I don't remember what their names are, but I've seen that before. I know what you're talking about. I mean, ultimately, I see your point. Like the concern there is, obviously we don't want to force feed that
Yep.
generation. We don't want to make them watch esports and just say accept it. Like
Yep.
that's not the goal. But the goal is to, yes, make them a little bit curious about the subject, to do further information or find further information about the subject, and maybe see that it's not just playing video games.
Yep.
I mean, it's truly not.
Not anymore.
And not anymore, right? I mean, for a while, that's what it was. It was all you would see in the esports, like, magazine is LAN. It's not about LANs anymore. It's about streaming, LANs, competition, getting youth involved in something other than just school. I mean, it shows the public that there is a way for you to make it, or for you to really drive yourself to fine-tune your craft in something that's not the norm.
Right.
I mean, video games, of course, has always been just video games up until probably the early 2000s. I mean,
if that.
Right.
Like, it wasn't until Halo 2. I know people argue it's a Counter-Strike, but Halo 2 was the first one that like went to TV, like first one on ESPN.
Right.
So I think that's that point when it hit.
Right.
2004, I think.
Somewhere in there.
Because it wasn't like right when it got released. It was like a year after. So.
Right. I mean,
The
they
birth of
weren't
MLG.
really sure how to make it into something that could be monetized at
Yep.
that time. And I mean, that kind of brings us to the next topic. I'm glad that you brought up Halo.
Oh, don't
Here's
do
a
this
big
to
one.
me.
Halo Infinite gets pushed back till 2021.
So I've been making this joke a lot, and I'll make it everywhere to ruin everybody's year. But what that means is, if you've been following the production for the Master Chief Collection being ported to PC,
Right.
that means we're ending the year with Halo 4.
Yep.
2020 is cursed already. It doesn't matter what happens next. Like, nuke America, we're still getting Halo 4 at the end of the year. Doesn't matter.
Right. At the end of the day, Halo 4 coming out on PC is going to be the worst thing that's happened all year.
I mean, that was the worst thing that happened in general.
Like, we're already locked in the house. We can't play Halo Infinite. Gonna have to play Halo 4 for the rest of our lives. Let's fucking do it.
I'd rather cut off my arm.
I mean, you would still technically be able to play. There's different adapters where you can play with your mouth or whatever. Like there's a streamer out there that's actually paraplegic and he has to play with one of those those air sensors or whatever it is.
Xbox adaptive controller.
Yeah.
Yep. Those things are actually pretty dope.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. I've seen him stream a little bit.
It's so weird how they marketed it because they marketed the adapter, which looks like a controller. So on the outside, you're just like, okay, it's just a controller. But they have, I can't remember the exact number. I think it was like 42 different types of like controllers that you would attach to it for disabled people of disability, right?
Right, of course.
Like, they were ready for it.
Right. And we're kind of getting off topic a little
sorry.
bit here. But let's go back to Halo. I mean, one of the biggest things is a lot of people are concerned with, since we're going to have this dead time in between when it was supposed to be released and when it's actually going to be released, which we don't know yet. I mean, there's no definitive answer as far as when Halo Infinite is going to actually drop and hit stores. Do you think that they're going to maybe release some sort of campaign demo or maybe some sort of multiplayer demo?
So if you've been following their production to it, they're supposed to give us flights. It kind of sounds like they're still going to give us a flight for 2020.
Okay.
Like it sounds like that. They have not said those words, so I'll take that with a grain of salt.
Right.
Chances are we're probably going to get maybe 2 or 3 more like trailers by the end of the year.
Right.
I don't think we're going to get our hands on it.
Okay.
The reason why I say it like that is because the E3 trailer, like the demo they had for it, while it looked really good, it just looked like there was a lot of stuff they were still trying to finish on it.
Right.
And I would hate for them to rush it, depending on where that product was at that time of post. But I mean, they're still running Halo tournaments. They got their Pro-Am going along. They just did their Grassroots Cup this weekend.
Okay. Yeah.
Which was actually really cool to watch. As long as they keep us entertained, it's not going to matter.
Right. I mean, obviously, the esports community, the casual play community, we're very much so looking forward to see Halo Infinite in action, see what they really do with the title, because historically, Halo has not been too huge in esports. I mean, they've not really shown too much interest in supporting Halo esports. As far as I know, anyways. I mean, I could be wrong.
Well, that's going to depend on who you talk to. If to me, it's a yes and no. It depends on which game. Because 5, they were trying their best. 4, they had the big free for all, but they found out they designed a game that was not meant for multiplayer, which is why people are not a big fan of it. But 5, they had the World Circuit for 3 years.
Right.
Then they converted it to what they have now, which is the HCS.
Right.
And that's been running Halo 2, Halo 3. It might run Halo 4 and 5 before Infinite comes out. So, I mean, it's not big, but it's the problem where they can't pick a game for us to follow, and the community doesn't want to follow any of the games they couldn't pick.
Right.
It's a really weird catch-22. It's not like Counter-Strike where everybody just loves it.
Right. There's so many different titles to choose from in Halo, and there's so many different metas in each individual game.
And everybody has a different taste.
Right. Right, of course, and some players that are good at one game are not good at another game. I mean, and it
or
just
don't
turns
wanna
don't want to be right because they don't like the game. I mean, and that's what I've heard as well. I mean, the community is so back and forth because there's certain titles that are great, and then there's certain titles that aren't. And
I think like the way we should consider it is Halo Esports is actually probably pretty big, but it's just so broad.
Right.
It's like what. If League of Legends had 6 different games, you'd have to spread it across. It's just too wide. And I think with once Infinite comes out, if it's as good as what we're expecting, it's just going to plateau.
Right.
E3 last year, if you watch like a lot of the VODs, there was more people excited for Halo Infinite than Cyberpunk and I think it was God of War combined.
Okay.
So, I mean, people are ready for it. People want it.
Right. I mean, I want it. I mean,
want it.
It's Halo to me has always been. I mean, and this is partially because of the fact that Halo Esports has never really made it to where it really should have.
Right.
As far as a game title goes, as far as it being one of the best game titles out there, it really is. I mean, everybody that is anybody in the esports community right now has played Halo at some time in their life.
Yep.
And they either enjoyed it or they didn't. And most of the time they enjoyed it. And
even if you're you pick a bad experience from
Right.
it, like a lot of times you still get that hunger for it.
right. And to me, it's always been a campaign-based game. I mean,
I'm
multiplayer.
going to say multiplayer.
I
But
was never really
that's my bread and
into the
butter.
I mean, like, I played multiplayer a little bit. It just depended on like who was involved. Like, I couldn't play just multiplayer, like me go by myself and play multiplayer against random people. Like, I had to be playing with friends in order to enjoy it, because that was the point of
Yep.
it. I was playing with friends and playing against my friends. Now, I myself, I'm really big into a story, and of course, Halo's lore is never ending. I
Oh, yeah.
mean, and they if they wanted to, they could probably make 100 video games, all with a continuation of storyline, just based off of all the different characters and all the different storylines
Yeah.
that we see in their lore.
I mean, it's one of the few games that has more books than like series points entries, and
Right.
we're at what the 11th Halo game, I think, is what the exact number is.
Hey, I'm just saying, if they ever make a Halo game that is storyline based off of Sergeant Johnson, whew,
He's
I'm
got his
buying
own
that one.
book. He's got
yeah,
a
I know
whole
he
book.
does. I know he does. He does have his own book. I'd like to see a campaign based off of him, though. That'd be pretty nice.
That'd be pretty dope.
All right. So that wraps up our Halo topic. I think we're going to take a quick break, just get a little bit of a breather, maybe drink some water, something like that. We'll be back here in about 5-10 minutes. So we'll see you guys in a little bit. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. So, if you guys haven't already speculated a little bit, we haven't released a game day graphic for tonight's game. We're still kind of waiting on a decision from the SCS Championship League. It sounds like there may have been some issues as far as gameplay and standing.
I
in
think
the
it's.
tournament.
I think that's fair that we don't go into it.
Right.
As always, guys, once we get that information, we'll get it to you. There's no need to rush us. You know we're the best. We're gonna get it anyways.
Right. Whenever we get an update, we'll let you guys know. But stay tuned for the game day graphic. It's going to be released shortly from here. But the next topic that we want to talk about, we're kind of going to dive a little bit more into streaming again. Shroud.
Oh yeah, he came back today.
Shroud came back today. He signed with Twitch again.
I felt so good, and it's gonna sound. It's gonna make me look like a big asshole, but I felt so great watching the first 3 minutes of it when he played his intro audio, or his intro video, and no audio played, because I was like, oh, he's a streamer just like me. Thank God, he's human.
Well, I mean, the thing is also, I mean, I don't know that, just like with Dr. Disrespect, I'm sure Shroud has a team behind him that does his producing and everything like that. I'm sure that he has a team that goes through and makes sure all the cables are connected and everything's going to work before.
He got it working after. It just seemed like it was kind of a glitch on OBS's side.
I don't know. Maybe somebody needs to get fired. I don't know.
Nah,
that could happen too.
I doubt he would fire anybody over that.
We'll just have to stay tuned to that one.
It was pretty funny though, because when it wasn't playing the audio, he pulled his mic forward. You could hear it like moving around. He's like, guys, I'm so sorry.
And I mean, I said it earlier whenever we were talking about it. That's a very Shroud thing for him to say. Like, I could just see it in my mind. That goatee though.
Oh my God, I was shook by that. I was like, who am I putting money towards?
We were sitting in a meeting earlier today, and myself and the CEO we pulled up the stream, and the first thing he said was, "He's got a full blown goatee," and I turned on the stream and I was like, wow. I was like, okay.
I guess he's committed to it too. He was talking about how he did some photo shoot, and that photo shoot was gonna to seal the deal on whether he had the goatee or not for like for a while.
Oh, man. That's not okay.
I think it looks good.
It's different. I'll say that. It's not the Shroud I'm used to.
I mean, once he pulls that mouse, it doesn't matter. He was still landing shots. You could see he was a little rusty, but it wasn't enough. Enough.
I don't know what he maxed out with because I didn't watch the stream all the way to the end, but the sub count. Oh my goodness.
I think I heard like when I was leaving about
App.
5, it was like what, 220,000.
Cash App alone gave him like 1,500 subs. That's insane.
I like Logitech. They came in and gave out, I think it was like 150 tier 3 ones. Like,
jeez.
I was so upset watching that entire time and not getting a gift.
Yeah,
I was like, come on.
All these gifted subs, and I'm just here with nothing. Like, I don't get any love from anybody.
And then they flipped the sub chat on, and I was like, motherfucker.
Right, now it makes it even worse. You're just rubbing it in my face. First day back, and I already don't want to be here.
Thanks, Shroud. I'm leaving.
Right.
Unsubbed.
So, a lot of people don't really know Shroud's upcoming, but he used to play competitive CSGO.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until, I believe it was, I got the notes here somewhere, 2018. It was early 2018 whenever he stopped playing CSGO, and he really started to focus on streaming. And I mean, obviously, a lot of that came from, there's a lot more money in streaming than there is playing an esport. That's why a lot of your esports individuals, they are streaming on the side, or that's what they do in order to make a little bit of extra income.
Yep.
And I mean, if you do it well, you obviously make a good amount of money.
I'm actually really happy by that, because if you look at some of their scenes, I'm gonna give a shout out to my FGC guys, the fighting game community, because there's no money in any tournaments ever.
Right.
But they've been able to thrive through this year and like even years prior by streaming.
Right.
And a lot of the personalities that you find on the FGC are ones that are like, they're comparable to Shroud, to where they don't have the mouse. No, they have a controller, and they're hitting nutty combos.
Right.
And like, it's just kind of cool to see that kind of transition away from everybody expecting the tournaments to give money.
Right. And I mean, there was a little bit of deliberation between me and the CEO. We were kind of like, what if Shroud makes a comeback to competitive gaming? And I mean, I've done my own little bit of research as far as like the amount of money that individuals in the esports community make. I mean, for instance, like Scump, he only makes about 1.5 million a year. Shroud made over 300 grand in 1 month whenever he maxed out 114,000 subs. I mean, and that's in 1 month of work. He can make the 1.5 in 6 months.
Yep.
I mean, there's way more money involved, especially here in the U.S. There's way more money involved in streaming than there is in esports, and that goes back to what you said earlier. Is like if we were talking about like Japan or China or something like that.
Korea.
It's exactly the opposite. I mean, there's more money in the esports side of things than there is in the streaming. I mean, Dota 2, it's one of the biggest as far as prize pools and
it is the
player
biggest
salaries.
prize pool.
Right. I mean,
there's not
the scene is not here though. I mean, there is a little bit of a North American scene here.
It's kind of sleepy, but it's definitely
right.
across the seas.
Right, and it's huge. It's huge in that aspect. Same thing with League.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, League of Legends is the same way. League of Legends is the biggest game in the world, arguably. I mean, as far as competitive esports goes.
I mean, it's not even arguably anymore. Last year, it hit more viewership than Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Like, now that you've toppled the giant, you're on top.
And the thing is, I'm sure if you looked at the demographic, most of those viewers did not come from North America. I mean, it's much bigger overseas, and that's just plain simple the fact.
Yep.
And again, that falls right back to
different times, different space.
Right, and that falls right back to what players in a highly competitive region are actually making for a salary. And when you compare the top of the line players in competition right now to the top of the line streamers, it's night and day payroll.
Plus, like the thing you have to consider too is like when you transition from pro to streamer or streamer to pro, you lose a lot of the quality of your stream because two things have to happen. One, you have to dedicate a lot more time to that game, and that means you have to dedicate it to the same players.
Right.
That makes your streams completely
washed.
I wouldn't say, well, actually, washed is probably a good term for it. It's just the same thing over and over again.
Right.
That's not what people want.
It's dry. I mean, it gets dry because as far as content creation goes,
mm-hmm.
that's literally what it is.
And then two, and this is something I've actually learned from like talking to some of the like Halo amateurs and the pros is you can't even stream when you're a pro player because if you stream any scrims or any kind of just conversations, that's information the other team's getting in.
Right.
And that's when you're a professional player, information is more important than anything else.
Right. And I mean, it goes all the way down from the pro level all the way down to the amateur level. I mean, our Rainbow Six team, or even just Rainbow Six in general, it is extremely, like, there's a few organizations that actually do stream scrims, and it's ridiculously frowned upon. Like, players hate it, other organizations hate it. I mean, the organizations that are doing it have the mindset of, well, if I'm paying these players to play the game, I'm going to monetize them any way, shape, or form that I can. And if that means that I got to stream their practices, then I'm going to stream their practices. But the thing is that's why that team is never going to make it to a bigger level because the other teams have much more to go off of as far as preparation goes. The only information that we get even from other teams or people that we're looking to play in the near future is we have to actually go past game days and watch how they play. Like for SCS, for example, I mean, whoever we're playing next week most likely is going to review the VOD of our game, and they're going to try and prepare themselves. I mean, if they're a good team, anyways. I mean, some of the teams in SCS are. I mean, we arguably just knocked out the best team in SCS other than ourselves.
Allegedly.
Right.
Unless it got announced.
Well, we wouldn't have even knocked them out really because the way that SCS does it is more of a point system.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, and it's not even a tournament yet. We're still just in league games, so they still have a chance to catch up to us as far as points go. We would really have to drop the ball throughout the rest of the league, but I mean the way that it's gone, I mean, we won the series between the two of us just based off of points, because if you lose, you get 0 points. If you draw, which is what we did, you get 1 point for both teams. And we won the first game, so we got 2 points for the first game. That means we came out on the other end with 3 points. Then we came out with one. So we won the series regardless of whatever comes out at the end of the time. But it's arguably the best team in the league other than ourselves, and quite frankly, I'm pretty happy with the way that we turned out, especially considering that we have a player on the team that's only been with us for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, we put him into more scrims, we put him into more practices with our roster, and I definitely think that this team is going to go all the way with SCS. And I mean, we're in UPL playoffs right now, and if SCS has some pretty decent caliber teams, it's not UPL caliber teams, but I've seen a lot of our games. I mean, I watch every game, so I can't say that I've seen a lot of games because I watch them all, but I see how we play against these other teams in UPL, and some of the teams in UPL are better than us even, and we still give them the biggest run for their money that they're going to receive all season.
Yeah.
And again, that's with a player
They sleep on you.
and that's a player that hasn't played with us but more than 2 weeks. We just finished the trial period for him. But it's
You know, on the topic of Rainbow Six, if you don't mind me switching up a little bit, did you see the new character they announced?
I did not.
I don't remember what the new season's coming out or whatever. Apparently, they're bringing back Sam Fisher from the Splinter Cell series.
Okay.
I'm gonna bring it up because it's kind of a curious concept. Have you ever played the Splinter Cell series?
I played it a little bit as a kid. I can't say that I got too heavy into it.
Well, so here's the thing that gets me is if you've ever, those series has always been based on stealth.
Right.
If we're bringing a stealth character into the game, are they really trying to change the dynamic of the meta that much?
See, the difference. I see what you're saying, but the one thing, as somebody that plays Siege quite a bit, and I'm very familiar with the landscape, the meta is technically stealth already. If you look at Vigil, for instance, Vigil is one of the top operators in the game. He's got one of the strongest guns in the game. His ability isn't the strongest, but it is a stealth orientated ability, and there are ways to really utilize his utility to where it can be the best item on the board. The other one is
Caveira.
she's one as well. Caveira is she has a very high utility option with her silent steps. That allows you to go from one side of the map to the other side of the map with 0 to no detection. But even that, I mean, the meta has always been when you crouch walk, it's almost impossible to hear you, and you can move extremely fast from point A to point B if you're like a 3-speed or even a 2-speed sometimes. Stealth has always been one of the biggest things for Siege, and that's always been the goal for them. Is stealth is a big point of what they want to make the game, because it's about neutralizing hostiles in an environment where they are familiar with the environment. You are not familiar with the environment. So the goal is to be stealthy anyways in the first place. And I think that if they introduce an operator that is highly stealth orientated, I don't think it will step too far away from the meta. I think that they'll have to be careful. They can't make the operator too strong, of course. Now, they've had a history of, right whenever they release the operator, he's either A, absolutely broken, or B, he does not make the slightest difference in the game. Take
The
Clash, for example.
power charge or whatever I forgot the term is for that. Because League of Legends does the same thing where it's like
Right. Mm-hmm.
you have to give people a reason to buy that character,
Of course.
and like it sucks that they have to be overpowered, and like use Tekken as an example, where Fakmir just fucked the entire ecosystem.
Right.
But I mean, like you thinking about how like Splinter Cell worked as like a game itself, it was more about like light and dark. Like, do you feel like things like that might be implemented into the game then at some point, like for his kit alone, not the entire game?
I mean,
Because this is a guy that's used to like shimmying on pipes
right.
in the middle of the night.
I would like to say that that would be a cool implementation. It would just create too many things going on at once. That's what Siege is trying to limit, is the amount of things that are going on at once, because it's already a game where every move you make
It's a visual overload.
is either detrimental or the biggest move that you're going to make in the entire round. And when they continue to add different mechanics as far as the map goes itself, that could really make gameplay very difficult to adapt to. And the scene has, there's never been a moment in the Siege scene for competitive play anyways where it just goes from one meta to a completely different meta. It's always just kind of
Subtle
changes, kind of minute changes, kind of shift the meta a little bit, and it's usually pretty simple to adapt to it. Take for instance the newest item that they've added to the game was proximity alarms. They're used, but they're not super prevalent in the competitive play. I mean,
if you don't mind me asking too, on that note of implementing items, when's the last time they brought a new weapon in?
It's actually, I believe the last time they brought a new weapon in was the Horizon. The Horizon
The
season,
Moon one or whatever.
where they brought in Mozzie and what is her name?
I can't remember. I can picture her, but I can't remember either.
Mozzie and
Well, the reason why I ask is because I'm wondering if
Gridlock. That's Jesus.
what do you think the chances are, and this is just me freeballing things at this point, that they bring Sam's signature SC-120 in?
So based off of what information I've seen, and kind of what they've talked about as far, because recently at the end of their most recent Pro League season, they kind of did a roadmap over the next like 2 years to kind of show us what's in store, and they kind of talked briefly about like future operators, stuff like that. They're getting to the point to where they're actually going to transition from 2 operators a season to only 1 operator a season.
Wasn't it? I heard. Is it? Maybe I'm wrong in what I heard, but I thought it was 1 operator and then one rework. Was that?
I think so. I think that's what the plan was, is that they're going to do an operator and a rework at the same time. But their concern was, do they continue to bring 2 operators at a time each time and water down the pool of operators and
Or
make
do
it much more
1-1.
much more unoften to see certain operators? Because there is certain operators that are very situational at certain times.
Lord Tachanka.
Probably the most situational operator out there.
Yeah.
But if they continue to add 2 to the pool every single time that they add anyone, it just continues to water down the pool of character or operator basis, and it makes each of their utility much more scarce, and it shifts the meta a lot harder whenever you add 2 players to the pool. When you add 1 player to the pool, it's just a little bit more soft of a change, and that's the difference also with bringing new guns to the game. I can't remember 100% correctly, but I think the last time that I saw anything discussing like what we can look to see in guns is, I'm pretty sure they're trying to reuse as much as they can before bringing in new games to introduce new mechanics. Because if you throw a new game into the pool, it's either A, going to break the operator to the point nobody uses them, or B, it's going to be the biggest thing that ever happened to Siege, and it's going to change the meta completely. Because, I mean, take Jaeger for example. They've nerfed his weapon to the point that it's no longer like the absolute top weapon on the pool.
Yep.
But he still has the most usable utility out of any other operator on the defending board.
And he was wasn't he like season 2, right? Year 2.
He's a vanilla operator.
Oh, he was vanilla.
Yes.
Oh.
And the thing is, we really can't use any other utility whenever you're comparing either Wamai or your Jaeger to any other utility, because right now the meta is so throwable heavy. Every chance that you can get to take away a throwable, that's going to help you win the round.
Okay.
And if they introduce a character like what was his name? I forgot his name. The Splinter Cell character.
Oh, Sam Fisher?
Sam Fisher.
To help you out, I think they're calling him Zero, is what his title's going to be.
I mean, if they introduce him and they give him a new kit, whether it be a new gun, new throwable, new gadget that's not already on the board, or something that's not even similar to what we've already seen, I mean, I just feel like it's going to shift the meta too heavily. And that's not something that they're accustomed to.
Yeah.
I mean, they like to do subtle movements. They like to shift very subtly. So it's not really something that happens too often.
Okay, so we're getting the time marker. I want to ask you one more question. So this was popped up on like a Twitter I read, or just a tweet I read, and it got me thinking. So Sam Fisher being like the first actual like guest character in Rainbow Six, and a lot of other companies going down that road too. Like Tekken has brought in Negan from Walking Dead. For Honor brought in the characters from Samurai Showdown. Samurai Showdown brought characters in from Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur brought characters in from just mixing around.
Right.
Do you think that if Sam Fisher is a success to Rainbow Six, they'll bring a different character in, like another guest character? And if you do, who would you hope for?
It's hard to say because we haven't seen what they make this one into. I don't see them doing another one after this. The reason that I say that is they're very unique with a lot of their different operators. The operators and the gadgets that you see in the current game or the current version of the game, you've never seen anything like it in any other game. I mean, just plain simple.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it had to be a game. Like Negan being in Tekken was a shocker.
Right.
Like, what's stopping us from having? I don't know. Just to shoot it out, John Cena. You know.
I mean,
a bad example, but
that is a really bad example.
A really bad say Chief. Let's just say Master Chief, whatever. No, that's still a bad example.
That's still a bad example. At the end of the day, I don't think that they will try and bring too many operators in that relate to other titles. I think that this potential Splinter Cell operator could be their flagship as far as like working with other titles, or as far as bringing in characters from other titles. I don't see them bringing in any other operators. And with that being said, I don't really have any preferences to who gets added if they ever do.
Really?
I mean,
you wouldn't? There's not somebody you'd picture perfect for that, or somebody you'd like to see?
Not exactly. The only other one I could even think of would be. I don't have an answer for you. I really don't. I just can't. It's hard for me to picture somebody that I already know in the game that I've been playing. I mean, just the Splinter Cell character alone, that's going to be kind of weird for me because I've seen the character before. And I see it in
if you haven't seen his design yet, you're not going to recognize him. He looks 50. He looks really old.
Yeah.
Like, he looks nice. Like, I hope I look that good at that age.
All right. Well, with that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and cut the podcast for the night. We've talked about a lot of different things. We were kind of just rambling on there, and at the end, we kind of reached the end of our topic about Shroud, and we didn't realize we were talking so fast about different things. But we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for the night. We're definitely going to be back next week. Who knows? David might become a concrete decision here on the podcast. We might bring him on again. I definitely want to see you back on another episode, maybe next week or the week after, whenever. But we'll work out the details later on.
If you guys want that, let me know.
Yeah, of course. Just let us know in the chat. Let us know on Twitter if you want to see David come back to the podcast. But as far as the podcast is concerned, we're done for the night. So thank you everyone for tuning in. We really appreciate it. If you liked what you saw, hit us with a favorite, hit us with a sub. This video will be up on YouTube, so head over there, hit us with a subscribe and a like. But I think I don't have anything else to say. You got anything?
No. I feel like as wolves, do we not just howl out?
I am not howling.
You're not howling out?
No.
Come on, Dylan. Come here. You can do this with me.
no,
Yeah.
No,
We
we're
got
doing
this.
it.
Sorry.
Hold on, let me get over here.
Okay.
Oh, we doing it. We doing it.
Hold on.
Alright.
I
Yeah,
don't-
start us off though.
Let's not get this too close.
Hello.
Ready? 3,
Hello, chat.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, we did it. You're a loser. You're a loser.
This is what I have to work with, guys.
Hey, if you're having fun, you're working too hard.
I mean, I was having fun before you guys started having fun. So, but we'll see you guys later.
Have a good night, guys.